Hey guys, today we are covering blood sugar. Blood sugar has to do with the amount of glucose in our bodies, and glucose is our body's main source of energy. It's our fuel, it's the gas that we put in our tank to kind of get where we need to go in life, get our body functions moving. And we get glucose from the food that we eat. So today, alongside the video, we'll do a very blood sugar stabilizing white bean and chicken soup. If you're part of the 28 Days to Better Periods Challenge, that recipe will be in your email. If not, just go over to katieflower.com. And if you're veggie, ditch the chicken and just double up on the beans. I've pretty much got everything chopped and measured already, so if you're cooking alongside the video, maybe just take a moment to pause. I'm so lazy about chopping. Like, blow me up so I can hire a prep chef. The carrot's big. The fennel doesn't really matter the shape. I think I'll get the soup on the stove, and then we will get into the dirty deets of blood sugar. It's gonna be the most heinous angle, and I'm kind of into it. Always get your pan or your pot, whatever you're using, a little warm before you start putting food in there. I'm gonna throw in oil and spices to bloom. This challenge has really turned me into a little grazie hoe. It's just so visually appealing. And then we throw in our spices with the oil at the start. So the spices are just gonna go 30 seconds to a minute, and you don't want them to burn, you don't want your oil to smoke, so then we get right to the next thing. And if you're nervous, just put the heat on lower. Let's see if we can do this without making a mess. It's not easy to be cute and a chef and educator. Somebody's gotta do it. When I was in culinary school, they were like, don't salt till the end. But it's just not how I am. So I'm gonna throw a fat pinch of salt in here right now. I can't remember if there was some science behind it that was like, don't do it. But I like to salt as I go. So I'm gonna salt as I go. Always the option to do whatever the fuck you want while you're cooking. I'm just here to give you ideas. Carrots and fennel in the pot with the spices and oil. We're just gonna let this cook down so that fennel and carrots are soft. And if you need, cover. So let's let this cook down, and we'll learn a little bit more about blood sugar and hormones. If you hear the words blood sugar and your eyes start to glaze over, totally normal. I think blood sugar is really only brought up in the context of diabetes, and as many people as that unfortunately affects, if it's not directly impacting you, I think it's kind of hard to see why is blood sugar relevant to me? Blood sugar is major for hormone health. There's two main reasons for this. One is that if you're experiencing blood sugar roller coaster, so that means really high glucose spikes inevitably followed by a crash. So if you're gonna have your glucose levels tested, it'd be we're up and then we're down. This creates stress and inflammation in the body, stress being one of the root causes of hormone imbalance. We'll get deeper into this in week 3. The second way that blood sugar affects hormone health is through the hormone insulin. Insulin responds to glucose. So if you have a lot of glucose in your system, your cells are becoming overwhelmed, it's insulin's job to come in and take the glucose from the cell to fat and liver and muscle tissue. If you have high glucose, then you have high insulin. The problem occurs when this is the constant state of your body, having super high insulin levels, which then prevents male hormones like testosterone from transforming into female hormones within a female body. From there you start to get hair growth in unwanted places, storing a lot of fat around the waist, the belly, and really hard to lose that weight because the body's starting to take on fat the way that a male body would. And you also get cysts on the ovaries, all the symptoms that are under the umbrella diagnosis of PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that is coming from the high insulin. The amount of women that I meet in a week that have PCOS is what the fuck? It is so common. It is why I'm making these videos. If you have been diagnosed with PCOS, it doesn't mean that you have bad hormones. It means that there's a metabolic issue that just needs to be addressed, okay? We flatten the glucose spikes, so you have steady blood sugar. That sends PCOS symptoms into remission. Do we have crunchy carrots? Next, we're throwing in a cup of millet. This is a gorgeous complex carbs and blood sugar, baby. And the chicken. And I want to let this toast a little bit before I throw in the stock. Happy blood sugar is steady blood sugar. Highs follow lows and lows follow highs. So we want to skip the whole blood sugar roller coaster and opt for moderation instead. The best way to flatten glucose spikes is through food and lifestyle choices. When it comes to food, if we want steady blood sugar, we need to be steady with our choices. I'm not going to tell you don't eat this or that. I think your energy is way better spent focusing on what foods am I eating that feel really good to me, and kind of examining your relationship with food. That being said, I think now would be a great moment to practice what we were just learning in the last video of the challenge about body communication. It's kind of inaccessible to go get your blood sugar tested every day and really know where you're at with your glucose. So what can your body tell you? I would start looking at, what are my energy levels throughout the day? Am I consistent? Is there a certain point of the day that I know like I crash? And what food or stimulants am I using at those times? Hangry. Do you get hangry? We all know hangry. We know hangry. This is this is a blood sugar crash. And what, like, are you irritable? Is it anxiety coming up? Like, just kind of write down what it feels like to be in your body throughout the day in terms of your relationship to your energy. Start jotting it down. Even if you're not writing anything down, you could just, after you've eaten a meal, kind of sit with yourself and be like, how do you feel? How did that make you feel? And giving your body a little bit of space to communicate how your food is making it feel, it's going to give you good data that you can make your choices from. So the grains are fully cooked. I'm going to put in the beans and let this cook for another 10 minutes. It's looking good. Okay. To finish, spinach and squeeze of lime, and then like salt and pepper to taste, and then have our soup. I don't know if you can feel it through the camera, but this shit is loving. Ooh, honey. Thank you to all the hands, antenna, sun rays, raindrops, everything that had to be to bring this food to my plate, including my own work. I love your food. That's pretty hot. Let's go over some blood sugar hacks you can use to stabilize your glucose spikes while I wait for this to cool. Even though I really want to eat it. Alright, so hack number 1. You start the morning with a savory breakfast within 90 minutes of getting up. Savory breakfasts are the bomb. Like, they're so good. You could do a big bowl of stewy beans and some nice toasted sourdough to like sop it all up, or you could do pesto eggs or avocado toast, like endless options. I've got a lot of savory breakfast recipes on my website, so feel free to grab any of those. What this does is it basically sets you up for the rest of the day to be less at risk for any blood sugar spikes. It's really like that foundation at the start of your day. Hack number 2, snacks. So to avoid blood sugar dropping, because even if it's not a huge crash Any dip in blood sugar causes the cravings center in our brain to really like ding ding ding, and then we're that much more likely to grab something that's going to spike blood sugar, and it just kind of creates a vicious cycle. So to just avoid that whole story, snacks throughout the day, I love to do like a toast with hummus and some like fresh pickled veggies, or in a pinch some like olives and cheese and maybe some nuts. It doesn't have to be super elaborate. These snacks aren't meant to cut out your meals. They're part of like just getting you through the day, especially if you are somebody that is like, yeah, I do get hangry, or like you're noticing you are a little bit more sensitive with the blood sugar. This is just kind of gonna be that thing that like gets you to the meal without having the dip and stay really consistent throughout the day. Hack number 3, when you are building a meal, you make sure that there's a fat on the plate, a protein, and a complex carb. Fats, why would you not put a fat on your plate? Like, it tastes so good. And our body loves fat. Protein, so many benefits to protein. From a flavor perspective, it's good. But the protein is going to be protective towards blood sugar. And then the complex carbs, so maybe it's like some fibrous veg or whole grains or beans, and having all these 3 things on the plate, whatever else you're going to put on there, this is going to reduce blood sugar spikes. It's really going to like cushion the blow of any glucose that's going into your system, pairing those nutrients together. I really never want to tell you like you can't put this on your plate or that. Put on all the foods that you like, but just making sure that you have that fat, protein, and complex carb is going to be like, we get to enjoy ourselves and our blood sugar is protected. Like, it can be both. I'm gonna add a 4th hack. It's not actually like food, it's not super foodie, but it's to do with blood sugar, so why not? This girl loves Italy. And one of my favorite parts about Italian culture is the after dinner walk, the passeggiata. And it's basically the idea that after dinner, everybody in the town like goes out and walks around the village square. And this is actually a blood sugar hack. I don't know if they know, but it's really good for blood sugar walking. Well, actually, you could move in any way because it's gonna start telling the glucose to go in towards your muscles. But taking a little walk after you eat, it's not gonna stress you out. It's just, it feels good. I think if you've never done it before, to eat a meal and then go for a walk like out in nature afterwards, just check it out and see how that feels. It always makes me feel like $1,000,000. Your hacks are starting the day with a savory breakfast, avoiding blood sugar lows by snacking throughout the day. When you have your meals, there's a fat, a protein, and a complex carb on the plate, and a little after meal walkie if you feel called to it. There's so many different ways you can go about protecting your blood sugar. This practice is really not restrictive or like harsh in any way, so just lean into what you really feel called to. And if you do any of the hacks, let me know. If you're making the meals, tag me. I love to see your creations. That's all for blood sugar. See you tomorrow.